we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-core villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' Crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another protein-packed episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 305, recorded Monday, February 8th, 2021. Tonight, we're going to be talking about yet another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by the one, the only Nicole. The movie is 1985's The Peanut Butter Solution. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey! Chilling.
I am so fucking stoked for this review. I'm like, I was texting you guys while watching. This is, oh man, I don't want to get into it just yet, but man, I have so much to say, and I've been drinking, so this is going to be
Perfect.
a shit show.
This is a great children's movie, and it's also a great movie to be an adult and talk about while intoxicated. So,
Oh man,
two sides of the same coin.
Ugh.
Last but not least, calling in from Jacksonville, Florida, we got our boy, Soju. What's up, man?
What up, it's your boy, Peanut Butter Jelly Stains.
Those are legit stains.
Yeah, legit.
yeah,
And delicious.
We've
those
all
are
been there,
conceivably
haven't we,
actual
boys?
stains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when I was fucking 6.
Yeah.
Hey, man. I eat PBJ on the reg. No shame in my
How
name.
many stains you got?
None, because I know
Yeah,
how to
there you-
eat sandwiches.
There you go.
Liar.
Nah.
Not all of us are anti-banh mi purists, Soju. So we know how to handle
On me,
other
PB&J,
sandwiches.
gross.
I've never had one,
Put a-
but I
Put
would.
a little pickled cabbage on my PBJ. That's
Yeah.
the shit.
The stinkier, the better.
Hmm.
I know how you boys like them extra stinky, Bob.
Nicole, thank you so much for supporting us on the Patreon. Thanks for signing up and grabbing one of our You Pick the Flick spots. We definitely appreciate it. Before we get into the main event, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. Speaking of Patreon, here is another reminder. We currently have our March poll pick posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this March. The theme for March is adult animated horror films, and the 3 movies to vote between are Akira, Forbidden Planet, and Wicked City.
Bob, how
Juice?
those numbers looking so far?
Looking sexy.
Whoa, tell me all about it. Who's in the lead?
Wicked City is doing pretty well. It's definitely handily in the lead, but
Okay.
Wow.
it's still early in the month, though. So who knows? Who knows who could take it?
Waiting for all those Fantastic Planet stands to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, these are 3 movies that I know nothing about. I haven't really seen anything other than like trailers.
Yeah,
So,
I actually haven't seen any of these.
I don't know
films
how to
either.
gauge this poll.
Oh.
I'm shocked that people like Wicked City, but also I guess I'd be shocked no matter what one. So
Well, Wicked City is the only one I have not seen, so if it wins, so do
Yeah.
I hope.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm blind on
honestly
all
think-
of them. So
If it's as good as all that, then this is just a stacked fucking month because the other 2
Yeah.
movies are pretty interesting.
yeah.
Corey was hitting me up and was telling me that Wicked City's like real fucked up. So
Whoa.
Oh, shit.
All right.
maybe that's why it's winning. Who knows?
Uh-oh.
The only other bit of housekeeping I have to mention, here's another reminder. We got our boy Joe Bob coming back this Friday, February 12th. He's doing a Valentine's Day themed double feature on Shudder. And if you are familiar at all with the Straight Chilling podcast, we always host a live watch party when Joe Bob does his thing. So we're going to be doing that again this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just before 9 o'clock, We'll blast a Zoom link out on all of our social medias. And if you want to join, just click that link. You can pop right in, watch some Joe Bob, chat about the movies, chat about whatever nonsense he's talking about. And it's always a really good time. So come hang out with us.
It was a
Nice.
marriage to the
Yeah.
beast.
Juice, what you got? Your house is dirty, right? Clean it up.
Let's
Clean
see.
that shit.
Let's clean it up. Last week was the first Tuesday of the month. That means it was a new Top 5 Tuesday, which is when our top 5 lists come out on YouTube. So last week we had top 5 Japanese horror films. You can check that out on youtube.com. Yes, /straight chilling podcast. There you can get some exclusive horror content on there. And some interesting films on that list. The Japan Mang, they make some crazy films over there. So check that out if you are looking to get into some Japanese horror. Other than that, though, my house is clean. Now, this is something we are doing brand new for the first time. Straight Chilling Podcast is now taking sponsors. And if you are interested in that, you can hit us up at straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com and we can work through some of the details. But tonight we are going to hear from our very first sponsor.
Righto. And that would be our good friends over at Something Ghoulish. Calling
do it
all
nice.
science fiction film fans.
Mm.
Of Gods and Monsters is back. The classic horror movie podcast has returned and is covering The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951. Listen in as hosts Caitlin Duffy and Anthony Darrington explore the politics of the 50s, the importance of music and film, and why the movie is more relevant than ever. Find Of Gods and Monsters on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you get your podcasts.
We call them podcatchers around here, Bob. You can't unbreak that seal. That
You've
shit's
been-
open.
You've been pod caught. Slam some Of Gods and Monsters in your ears, people. You won't regret it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's all we got for the housekeeping. Let's go ahead and jump into the main event. We're talking about the peanut butter solution, and we're gonna kick it off with the back.
You forgot the bump. Respect my authority.
Wow.
All over the place. We're gonna kick it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Yes, indeed. So I do have the box here. This was put out by Severin. They have like a Severin Kids imprint where they put out horror movies specifically for children.
Yeah, I insisted that Rob actually read the back of this box because
Yes.
before we watched it, I read the back of the box and was blown away by what it had to say. So I was like,
I'm
Bob, you
excited.
have to read this back of the box this time.
Yeah, it's
Please.
it boasts some pretty wild claims here. The top of it says Nickelodeon by way of David Lynch, which I would agree with that. It also says the kid flick that scared a generation. I don't know if that's true. Maybe a lot more people have seen this than I had.
Stick to the back of the box, Bob.
Here we go. Oh yeah, that's on the
No,
back
it
of the box.
editorialized.
It's on the back of the box. All right. This is also what it says. Here's the plot synopsis. If you were a child in the 80s, you were likely traumatized for life by repeated viewings of this on cable or VHS. If you've never seen it, nothing can prepare you for the damage that awaits your psyche. For our debut release, Severin Kids presents the notoriously strange and creepy Canadian Kitty feature about burning winos, sudden baldness, psychotic teachers, suburban abductions, juvenile sweatshops, and the icky concoction that grows long, lustrous pubes. There you go.
That's very much a hindsight blurb.
That shit
That
got
shit-
me good. I was like, what is this movie going to be about? That's
I
a
mean,
lot.
it's not
That's-
wrong on really any
no,
point.
it's not.
It's not. Yeah. It is as bizarre as it sounds. I don't know. Well, let's just do this proper. Gentlemen, had you seen this movie before and would you recommend people check it out? Randy?
Yes, actually. I want to say like 2-3 years ago, one of my good friends, Ben, who was on our episode The Nightmare with his fiance China, um, he mentioned this movie to me. He's just a few years older than me, and he remembered it very vividly from being a kid and how like absurd and over the top it is. And well, because he knows I like the weird shit, he mentioned it to me one day, and I ended up watching it. So this is the second time that I've watched this movie, but it's only been over the course of like maybe 2 years. Um, recommend is tough for this one. I would say if you like the weird shit, that's pretty much the barometer I'm going on this one. I don't think this is like if you feel comfortable showing this to your kids, maybe they'd get something out of it. Maybe they'd be scarred like the back of the box told us. I don't know. I haven't lived this movie as a child, but as I understand it from Ben, it is a movie that left a mark on him. So I think that it's a pretty light recommend for me, but I also think that for people our age, it is a pure oddity. And if you want to see an oddity, this is a good way to go.
All right. Juice, what about you?
I had never seen this before, first off, and I only knew about it because, sometime last year, Randy talked about it on What You've Been Watching, and I remember his description of it and being very intrigued about how like strange it sounded, but I had never seen it before. This is a hard one to recommend because I did not grow up with it, and it's a little bit older than you guys. So it's not even in the realm of things I find like as way of childhood goes. When I think of like childhood horror, I think of shit like Casper or like Hocus Pocus or something like that. And even I know there was like some really bonkers stuff going on in the 80s. We were even talking about how strange things like The Never-Ending Story was and Dark Crystal. And I would say it's kind of somewhere in that realm. So it's definitely of its time. So if you are into that era of film and you've just never seen this one, then I would say you'll probably get a kick out of it, and it'll fit kind of in that realm. But if not, then I don't think you'll enjoy this, because this is a very particular film, and it is geared toward kids. So just like watching it as an adult is strange, especially for the first time. So it's a light recommend to a very specific person who's like really into like 80s kids stuff. But yeah, Bob,
Yo,
have you ever seen this before?
No, I had not. This was my first time. I think a good way to recommend this is to say, like, if you listen to the podcast regularly and you kind of know Andy's particular taste, and you vibe with that, you'll love this movie. What the whole time I was
you just
watching
limited
this,
the recommendation segment to like 2 people.
the whole time I was watching this, I was like, this is made for Randy. This is so Randy's shit. Like,
we'll get into that.
It's so weird in a good way, though. It's like sort of a Kids on Bikes movie from the 80s, but it's just like real nonsense. It's super goofy, and I'm very excited to talk about it. I would recommend it. It's not scary. I mean, I guess unless you're like 6, it might be scary then, but it's not going to scare you. It's one of those movies that you definitely would probably want to watch with people and be ready to MST3K it. Don't sit down and watch it alone if you can avoid it. I definitely recommend it in that setting, though. It would be really, really fun, I think. I enjoyed this one, and we're going to talk about it in depth. Let's go ahead and do it. We're dropping that spoiler warning. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
So how do you even summarize this thing?
I'm sure Bob's got a very cohesive plot synopsis typed up for us, Bob.
Rob, how many pages is your plot synopsis?
0 pages, because I didn't write one, but I'm going to do it off the cuff. I don't think it'll be.
Oh, that's guaranteed
difficult.
to be nice and succinct.
I got it. So yeah, we got this little boy with our main character, Michael. He crawls up into this old, abandoned, decrepit house, caught fire, and he sees a couple ghosts. He falls out the window. It turns out that he was scared so badly that he loses all of his hair. The ghosts then visit him in his home, and they provide him with a recipe for this peanut butter solution. They tell him that if he makes it, spreads it on his bald head, then his hair is going to grow back. So he does that, and it does work. However, his hair is growing back at an exponential rate, and it's out of control. He cannot maintain it. It's growing at like several feet a day. So he's dealing with that. Also, we've got this insane art teacher he's like an art teacher in an elementary school. He's teaching these children art, and he's a real bastard, man. He ends up kidnapping a bunch of kids, including Michael, and he realizes that he can cut Michael's hair and make these really fancy paintbrushes. And he basically starts this little sweatshop and has all these kids make paintbrushes so that he can get rich.
And clothing.
And, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hair,
yes.
clothing.
Why
not?
This man can rock a hair coat. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. He's also kind of magic and ends up painting these insane magic paintings, and a bunch of crazy shit happens that we'll get into eventually. And he ends up getting caught, and the kids get set free, and Michael gets control of his hair because he passes the fright along to the Signor himself. So his hair stops growing out of control. In the end of the movie is very happy. There's a lot of nuance in all of that we will unpack.
So much happening in this fucking movie.
So there's one piece of trivia that I want to read first.
Okay.
Because I didn't get this necessarily in the movie. They actually, a piece of it I did. It was very hard to get. And then there was one piece that was missing. So let me just read this real quick.
Okay.
It might help in our discussion. The characters of the Signor, the Rabbit, Dr. Epstein, and the homeless man Tom are all brothers. Tom explains his childhood early in the film. I had a lot of brothers. When questioned about his brother, the Rabbit stutters he died. I think he died in a fire. So
cool.
That was something that kind of revealed itself toward the end, that the doctor and that the art dealer and the crazy Signor were brothers, but it was hard to get there. And I didn't realize that the homeless man was involved. So
I didn't either.
They are all related, says the trivia.
That is interesting. I knew, like, this is the first time watching it this time around, I didn't notice that they were related, because it's very fucking well concealed, even after they're just outright saying it to the camera. It's really bizarre. Like it just kind of slides off the dome because of the nature of this movie. But even beyond that, I still, until you just said it, didn't know that Tom, the homeless man, the wino as they call him, was part of that clique as well.
Yeah, and even when they were saying like your brother's the Rabbit, I was like, who's the Rabbit? Who are they talking about?
I figured it out. I figured that out on the second watch. The first time I watched it, that whole scene. Okay. Oh man, I don't even know if I want to get into this just yet. But my strong supposition about this movie is that there were some substantial rewrites and reshoots that happened right at the end of this fucking movie. And I think that's part of it, because we enter a conversation with this man describing his brother, the Rabbit, in the middle of a dinner that he's having. Like, this is their doctor, child's doctor comes over for dinner with the dad and the sister of the missing boy. And there's no setup for that. We have no understanding of why he's there or what he's talking about even. And the idea of the Rabbit, that's a character that we met one fucking time, and he was not referred to that as that very much. Not that I can recall. It vaguely rang a bell.
I forgot all about the doctor. When the doctor popped up at dinner towards the end, I looked at Justin and was like, who the fuck is this guy?
That's Harem Scarum.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie is, so as a movie that's made for kids, it didn't scare me in any kind of way, but there was some things that just felt unnerving to me, even from the very beginning. I had a real problem with this like family dynamic. I don't know what, it just like rubbed me
Dude.
really wrong. I just was like, I don't like this from the very beginning, where like this little
Yeah.
girl is acting like the mom, and the
Yeah.
way she interacts with the dad and the kid, I didn't like it. And I can't necessarily explain specifically what about it bothers me, but I didn't like it, and it didn't get any better as the film progressed.
Can I read you one of my seriously pages of notes that I took on this movie?
Yes.
Okay, this is the second note I took. This is quote, I know it's a gag that Susie is taking the mother role, but there's a weird juju in the room when she has a way too adult seeming conversation with her father. There's this scene where she's having a conversation that is very much the voice of an older woman and not a 10 or 12-year-old girl. And it's like the whole movie, she's like that. She's very much like a Midwestern mom the whole movie, which I get is kind of supposed to be a gag, but I also feel like it's not at the same time. Like, I feel like it's part of those rewrites. I think the mom was written back into this movie, but was originally like a figure that was dead, and that was the whole like arc of the characters. Was
That
the
makes
kids,
sense. That
the
makes
kids,
sense.
yeah, because she only shows up right at the end, and there's only a couple scenes. I looked for it this time around. She's only mentioned a few times, and then they're in like kind of one-off shots. Like there's this one scene where Michael says, "Can I call mom?" And it's like a cutaway. "Can I call mom?" And he's like, and his dad's like, "Sure." And he's like, "What's the Australia like region code or whatever to call
Yeah.
Australia?" Because she's in Australia. Like it's all done through voiceover and insert shots. It seems
That
like,
does
except for
make
the very
sense,
ending.
because I thought for the whole time that she really had died, and the dad was such like not a good father, that he was not doing a good job of telling the kids like that from the like, as the movie started, I thought like, okay, this is going to be like a central idea of this movie. Like these kids hadn't had to deal with grief yet, or like something like that. But no, I think that's a good guess. Cause I
Mean, think
don't
about the
know.
conversation they have about Susie wearing her mom's like her bathrobe, which is like right at the beginning. They're talking about like, she knows I don't like it when she wears mom's bathrobe. That's something you say about like you're precious about a deceased parental figure's objects. You're not just jealous because you want to wear the robe. If you are, then like, I don't know. Like to me, it really resonated that way. And this idea didn't even occur to me until like maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes into the movie. So after that point, I was like, that's kind of weird. And that's kind of what spurred the thought. Dad, I don't know if he's a bad dad. He's just low rent Richard Dreyfuss the whole movie.
I think he's a bad dad.
I think so.
Yeah.
He's doing a bad job, in my opinion.
Anything, and he's also kind of a shitty painter.
Fuck you,
Just
bro.
saying.
Rob was not about this fucking.
No.
I mean, they're not good,
dude.
But it was
I don't
hilarious, like how bad they were in a way.
I don't know though, because it creates a counterpoint, right? To the Signor. The Signor's whole thing when you first meet him, he's a fucking art teacher for elementary schoolers, sure. But his whole thing is like, don't use your imagination, draw what's in front of you. And that, like, in fairness, that is a legitimate technique that you use to teach people how to draw well, is, you know, don't draw what you think of as a dog, draw the shapes that will eventually become a dog. If you're looking at it, you can draw it more real to life than if you're just imagining the symbol of a dog in your head and trying to draw that. So like in that sense, I was like on board with this guy, but he was such a dick about it. And he's like, no imagination. And he's doing all this shit or whatever. But the dad is like the opposite. Is like later on, Susie says to him like, "Sorry, Dad, nobody holds a tennis racket like that." And he's like, if I wanted to draw real life, I would have taken a photo. So like, there's a counterpoint happening here. And like, you know, whether or not you think his art style is good, like that's debatable on every front, on every artist that's ever lived. But I think that creates like a dynamic that's interesting. What's weird about it is that there's no like, I don't know what the resolution of that is really.
Yeah.
The way I read into the father's painting style was that like he was more of the child and he was painting in a childlike manner, and the kids were the adults in this movie. Because you've got like his kid gets terrified and falls out of a window and loses all of his hair, and the dad's reaction to it is like, hey, you got a fright for free. Most of the time you got to pay for that. Haha. Like he doesn't really care much at
See,
all. Meanwhile,
I don't. I took that as the opposite. I took that as him like, my son's in a crisis mode. I need to calm him down by,
I did not.
I
he's talking about his face. He's like, look, you see how smooth my face is, but tomorrow
Mhm.
morning there's gonna be stubble, right? Like that's a comforting moment from a father
That-
for somebody who lost
yeah.
their hair.
There were very few times I thought that this dad acted like a real father. Like even when the kid gets kidnapped, the little girl does all the work. Like
Mhm.
she hunts him
Dude.
down. Now it's a movie for kids, and kids always like,
Right.
you know,
The parents are always gonna be
upscale the
somewhat inept.
adults or whatever. But I thought he was a shitty dad.
No, I didn't think so at all. But like, what's interesting, like, okay, so this is something that occurred to me midway through this movie, and this is the second time I've seen this movie. But I realized this movie is very specific for me, and it's like specific to me to the point where I wonder if the universe created this movie just for me, because this movie has several things going on. It's about a fucking bald preteen, which I experienced because I had cancer when I was a kid. So I did like middle school with no hair, and I can tell you the humiliation is real. It centers on art and creativity, which just as I was at that same age and still to this day made my living off of it. It's weird as hell, which I just fucking love in general. It's like kind of a forgotten media sort of thing, except for the people that actually experienced it as children. Like this is only kind of just now becoming a resurgence of awareness for this movie. The only difference is like I have nothing to do with forced labor camps of children making shitty paintbrushes in a basement.
Not
That's
yet.
the
Even
only
have a sister with curly hair.
Yeah.
I do. That's true, actually. Yeah. So like she ain't going around like talking like Midwestern mom necessarily, but yeah, I hear you. I don't know. Like I was thinking about this. Like, man, this is like a confluence of things that are very particular to me.
Have you ever seen your dad paint?
No, but my dad shaved his head. This is maybe one of the reasons. Maybe that's one of the reasons I think the dad's doing well is because when I was like doing that whole thing, my dad shaved his head in like solidarity and all that stuff, as people do with like cancer situations or whatever, and like that meant something to me. And I feel like it was a similar sort of dynamic playing out between his Michael and his father in this, where it's like he's inept because this is a kids movie and the kids have to be the one to solve the problem, but he's like he's gentle and he's like kind. He's trying to reassure his kid even though he's not proactive about it, which I don't know. That's I don't know. I see where you guys are coming from, and maybe it's my history coming back into this a little bit, but I feel like the dad did pretty well, like for being in a movie like this, a movie that is supposed to be geared towards kids solving their own problems. I don't know. There's a ton of fucking things going on in this movie though. Connie, can we talk about Connie?
Yeah, we can.
Can we talk about this young boy's pubes real quick, please?
Dude, let's not even get to the pubes yet, because Connie is like my favorite fucking character.
Mhm.
I really love Connie and Susie. I don't particularly give a shit about Michael. Which is kind of weird. But Connie, like, okay, I have some notes here that like I'm just gonna like rapid fire some of the shit. Like one thing is Connie is straight up super stoked at the beginning of this movie about getting as close as he can to a house burning
Mhm.
where he knows people died. So like
Didn't he say he saw them on fire?
I don't know if he said he saw them, but he's like he was like there were definitely the winos were in there. He saw, I don't know, I can't remember the specifics of that, but like the fact that like later on in the movie he's like, dude, people just like when they're climbing up and like Michael's about to go in for the first time, he's like, dude, people died in there just yesterday. Why do you want to go in there? He's like, dude, you were like stoked that you got as close as this, like when it was actually on fucking fire. Connie's like, and also Connie like stands up to the Signor in multiple ways, and then later on like solves all the problems of the film by trumping the Signor.
My favorite scene with Connie is where he's like obsessed with ants, and he catches a little ant in a matchbook, and he shows it to Michael. He's like, "Hey, check out my new pet ant," and Michael looks at it and just goes, "It's dead."
It's dead.
Rob lost
Shit kills
his
me.
goddamn mind at that part.
It's kind of funny.
It's
It's kind of funny.
It's dead. Like, what a
Dude.
weird scene to shoot. Like, why?
Dude,
Like, why?
I don't know. And he's like so worried about the ants, but he's totally fine with dead fucking burning corpses. I don't know. Like he also like when he threatened the fucking senior in his art class, the senior's about to rip his fucking artwork and he's like, if you do that, I'll never come back to your class. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that actually worked on the senior. The senior is like in perfect kid movie, like demeanor is totally flappable by the kids.
What
you know
was
what I mean?
bullshit about that scene? So that's the first scene we see the senor is he's walking around to each student, and some of them he like praises, and some of them he like tears down. He ends up like tearing up Michael's painting. But when so Connie has a sister, and she's in the class too. And when he gets to Connie's sister, he's like, "You need to use your imagination." And we don't know his whole stance at this point. Like he specifically says, like, "You need to use your imagination." And then he gets to Michael and Connie. He's like,
No
what is this bullshit imagination? And we're like, what the fuck? He literally 2 students ago is like, use your
Are you sure you didn't like misunderstand him? Because his voice is a little hard to understand. I feel like he said
Maybe.
no imagination pretty much the whole time.
Maybe.
I
We
could
are
be wrong
confused.
though. It's like the thing is about this movie is it kind of washes over you. It's impossible to cling to any one nugget of information. It's crazy. Yeah.
Also, this shitty dad freaking pins his son down and makes the girl like put a wig on him. That was a disturbing
But
scene to me
That,
too.
that was fucked up, but Michael fucking loves the
Yeah,
shit
he
out of that
did.
wig.
And that was-
Loves
Dude,
it.
he
Yeah.
really turned
But,
around. He
like,
turned
the
a
way they
corner
were
on that
holding
fucking
him-
wig.
The way they were holding him down was another like unsettling moment. I don't know. It's just too that kid like freaked
I
out
don't know.
too well. He
His
just,
movies-
when he was like, "I'm disgusting," I was not moved in a way of like this poor kid. I was like, this is strange. I don't know. It was like slightly weird. I don't know.
When he's having his meltdown, there's a moment or two where it's pretty touching and he pulls on your heartstrings. But for the most part, I thought it was hilarious, especially the scene where he's like taking his aggression out on his drum set, and in between his like fills, he's like, "I'm disgusting. I don't want any visitors."
you're a monster.
Fucking
I-
hilarious,
Dude, I fucking love that him and his sister are doing a weird little like drum piano duet. I
Yeah.
fucking loved that. She's just trying to keep up with his drum. I loved it. I don't know why. It was just like a really weird, odd moment. But yeah, like he is bipolar as fuck. Like he goes from like one end of the spectrum to the other like an instant all the time. And to your point, Juice, yeah, that like on a visceral level, holding your child down and pasting something to their skull is not what I would call good parenting. But at the same time, that's something I could see happening in like a kid's book, which is based on a kid's book. So I mean, like that's something that you could see happening in the fantasy of a child. It's not something that you would advocate happening in reality, of course, but it's like there's a difference, I think.
There's like a pretty legitimately scary scene, I think, especially if you were a kid, that has nothing to do with a ghost. But like whenever, so they put the wig on him and he gets his confidence back and he likes how he's looking, and he goes out and plays soccer. And I guess one of the kids realizes he's wearing a wig and they snatch
Oh
it
my
off of
God.
him and they like chase him through the streets like he's fucking Frankenstein's monster. That shit's fucked up, man. Like that'll
Dude,
get in a kid's
really.
head. Effective filmmaking, dare I say.
Dude, really? That shit is like, and that is the nightmare I had when I was bald from chemotherapy. I had that like exact fright, or I was like, I'm embarrassed to walk around with no hat on or whatever. I wouldn't wear a wig because it looked too fake. But it's like, if the idea of somebody like ripping my hat or wig off and then chasing me with an impromptu perfect chant about being bald is like a nightmare I would have had at the time.
Yeah.
That's a very specific thing that I resonated with me, and I don't know if it would resonate with people that didn't go through that. But like, it's I don't know. There's that, and then like the dad, that fucking dad again. At one point, he says, "Fucking where is it?" He called the Susie says, "I called the hospital, but the doctors won't make house calls," which doesn't make any fucking sense. If you're calling the hospital, they can send an ambulance. But then the dad's like, "Great, he could be dying for all they care," and I'm like, "Bitch, you have a car." Like that's the negative side to the dad that I see is he's like totally like the ineptitude is dangerous.
Also, when they're just like lurking in the shadows watching this kid like in the middle of the night mix all these crazy ingredients together. Like he's picking flies out of a spider web. He's digging in the dirt. He gets a rotten egg. And then at the very end, just because he puts it in a blender, they're like, I can't let you drink it. It's like, what? Now it's not okay? Now you're
Well, he was doing it under cover of night.
They were watching him the whole time.
But he wasn't like, they weren't clued into it. Like he's just doing his thing kind of like privately, and they don't understand what he's doing. They think he's going to drink it because he's like suicidal or some shit, which based on this kid's mood swings is not totally out of the question.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't necessarily like fault him for that. That seems like a kid's movie misunderstanding thing, you know?
Yeah.
To me.
So the ghosts don't actually like give him the recipe. They say it to him at first, and he makes it, and then Dad flushes it. And then the ghosts show up again, and the lady ghost is like, I'm not gonna write down this recipe for you. I'm sorry. I'm feeling like I'm in a bad mood. And then the guy ghost is like, well, just here it is. And just gives it to him. Like, why did that happen? What's the point of that scene?
I want to point this out. You said earlier in the description, and I know you were rattling it off, but like, I don't know if you have this misconception or if it's just rattling it off, but when he went in and like, I think that he saw burnt up corpses. I think that's what made his hair fall out, not ghosts. I think he crawled up into that thing post the fire.
Actually, that was my impression as well.
And they never show what actually happens, but they come visit him, and they're clearly like at least at first seem pretty friendly ghosts as far as they come, you know. And so I kind of feel like that's like a really dark undercurrent that isn't explored too much.
I was thinking that because the way he passes the fright onto the Senor is the Senor crawls up in there and sees the ghosts, right? That's what scares him.
Well, he sees something.
Maybe. Yeah, we don't know what he sees.
Whatever is up there.
The thing is, like, we've seen the ghosts.
The implication is that people died in the house, and the kid literally says they died yesterday. The kid crawls up into the house, and something scares him, but later he sees ghosts and is not bothered by it at all.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I guess
the implication.
I connected that because the ghosts are in the house after the Senor falls out, and I was like, okay, well, the ghost.
He saw some version of those two quote unquote winos for sure, and like I really liked that. Like the reason that they came to help him with his hair is because he, you know, gave his money to them before on the last day of their lives and was nice to them.
Yeah.
But the weird thing, the thing about the woman wino or whatever suddenly turning on him, she has this quote that says, sometimes I'm nice, sometimes I'm mean, I never know myself which it's gonna be. I'm like, this is fucking terrifying and senseless. Like, what? I know you're a ghost, but Jesus Christ, this is a kids movie, and you went from like Casper to fucking like, I don't know what, like Haunted Mansion level, like scary shit going on. I don't know. The turn on that lady didn't make sense to me, but yeah, then Tom just was like, well, I'll help you out, Sean.
Here you go.
Whatever he says.
Fuck this ghost lady. I'll do whatever I need to do. Here you go.
Dude, the most fucked up thing about this movie to me was the damn Senor. That dude. Yeah. So he gets caught. He's already a piece of shit from the beginning, but then he gets called into the principal's office, and she's like, hey, I figured out that you are like a fraud. You have been kicked out of several schools. You've changed your name. You've done all this shady, super like fucked up shit. She's like, get out of here. So he's fired, and then just decides to abduct children in his rape van and lock them in this fucking warehouse, where then he also kidnaps Michael and has him and is spoon feeding him yogurt.
All yogurt diet, baby.
The yogurt diet, which, as we all know, makes your hair lustrous and full,
nice and regular.
And then making clothes out of his hair, like that's a really disturbing,
dude. He's
fucked up idea.
He's walking around in a pimp coat made of child hair. What the fuck?
Yeah, and he's making like other coats and shirts and
for his dog.
Oh my god, there's so much to talk about.
The dog has a coat. Fucking wild.
Of hair.
I don't know if there's a correlation between yogurt consumption and like the quality of hair or hair growth or whatever, but I do know that Michael is certainly shitting like a champ. So at least he's got that going.
Oh yeah, he's got him a bedpan full of goodies. I don't know, man. This is like, there's so, oh my God, all my notes are bringing back so much right now. The fucking math teacher. Let's talk more about the school thing. The math teacher scenes. There's like this oldish white-haired dude who's very much like the archetypal, no nonsense math teacher. Is so funny to me. He is so pissed that this child is having magical hair growth in the middle of his class, but he's not concerned with the magical part. He's just like, now, boys, this is not a barber shop or a salon. I demand you pay attention. It's like, how dare you grow superhuman lengths of hair during long division? Like, shit like that is fucking nuts to me. I love that.
That was another moment where the dad came off really shitty to me, is where this kid gets kicked out of school because his hair won't stop fucking growing. And he tries to like go back to school, and his dad's just like, they don't want you, Michael. They don't want you there. And I'm like, you need to deal with this situation. God damn, your kid is growing crazy hair and is kicked out of school. And the best you got is they don't want you there. Like, I don't know. He just like was the
he also the like
to me.
I don't know. I don't remember specifically that bit, but I do remember him apologizing to Connie for being a dick to Connie, which is such a weird thing to include. Do you remember that? Like, because Connie, the whole movie is like he's got a very like very Steve Urkel sort of thing where he just kind of pops in, and the dad's like, oh boy, here comes fucking Connie eating my grapes.
We've all got one of those, huh, boy?
Gosh, Connie, you don't even really ask, do you? That sort of thing. But then later on, he's like, Connie, I haven't been real nice to you. I'm sorry about that. And Connie's like, cool. And that's like it. There's like, they just have this nice little resolution at like the 2/3 mark. There's not even really much beyond that. I don't know.
I want to circle
kind of a wild card, maybe.
Real quick to that math teacher, like who loses his shit because Connie's cutting Michael's hair in class, and then Michael gets hauled into the principal's office, and the principal's talking to his dad, and his dad's like, "Yeah, I mean, we can't be having this going on in our classrooms. There's 3 teachers that are saying they're gonna resign if this continues." Like,
the collective bargaining is used to kick kids out of school. Like, come on, guys, get yourself a pay raise, but don't kick kids out of fucking school.
Let's touch on the speech that Michael gives.
I know
the teacher. He's like, "Sir, please, I want to learn.
I just want to be educated.
I can't control my
not
hair."
just
All the
Harry."
kids are, like fucking cheering. It's like, what is happening?
Dude, I love that shit. He said, I want to be educated, not just Harry, which is like, could absolutely be the battle cry of any pubescent boy.
Oh, my Lord.
Any pubescent nerd that exists is like, I don't know what these feelings are, but I want to be in school.
We didn't talk about the pubes.
Dude, yeah. Fucking Connie, with all of his wonderful fashion sense, is very concerned with getting his first batch of pubies. And that boy...
One fedora per crew. Connie's got it locked down.
Dude, I love his fashion sense. The fucking, like, the mesh football jersey with a black leather coat and a fucking pork pie hat on top on this little kid is one of the funniest and best looks I've ever seen. I love that shit.
I love so his buddy puts this shit on his head, and his hair starts growing out of control. And the first thing he thinks to do is to smear it on his undercarriage to get And he just says, "Let a guy do what he's gotta do." Like, why do you gotta do that?
Connie is a fucking G.
And Michael keeps his crazy hair growing, but Connie, like at one point, his pubes are coming out the bottom of his pants.
It's one joke scene.
Ridiculous.
One joke scene. It's so weird that they would include that at all in a kids movie, but then to have it followed up with one scene of just hair flowing out of his fucking jeans or sleep pants,
and then it never comes up again. And then it's gone.
Nobody's putting him under. Like, no, I guess nobody wants pube hair coats like they want.
Speak for yourself, Randy.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's an untapped market for boy pube coats.
Bob has got the first order on lock. Pre-order.
Yeah, he does. It's on layaway.
No, I don't. Do not.
Oh my god, dude! I love the nightmare sequences in this. This fucking kid gets his hair is so long that rabid dogs, just start chasing him in the streets. I fucking love that. That's so weird. Oh my god.
There was a scene that had nothing to do with anything, but there was a male person delivering the mail, and there's this like huge gust of wind comes in and just blows the mail all over the fucking street. Shouts outs to our mail people listening.
Yep.
Fuck
Yeah.
it. Mail's delivered, bitches.
We're counting that shit as delivered.
Delivered down the street.
You ever get one of those Amazon package notifications and the picture is just like of your package in the middle of the street somewhere?
It's in the river
No?
floating
Weird.
away. Here you
Here
go,
it
bitch.
is, delivered from whence it came. Yeah, I don't know. And also like these brushes. Let's talk about the fucking boy hair paint brushes that look like an artist's idea. Like it looks like Walt Disney theming on a paintbrush. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like it's the worst, shittiest paintbrush you can imagine. Fucking, I can't imagine using that shit to paint anything of value. But also on top of that, it's like this fucking guy sells them at his art store. He gets them from a man who has no name, from a company that has no name, and the man just starts making deliveries. The only piece of information he has is, I come on Fridays to deliver these brushes. No questions asked, really. I mean, I know we're not expecting blood diamonds here, but you could be a little more fucking suspect than just
Yeah,
this man.
especially
Just
'cause
he has
it's
no name. He has no name.
Brushes. It's not like some kind of low down thing. It's like fucking
Right.
paintbrushes for the art store. What are we
A
talking
man in a
here?
creepy red murder van rolls up and says, I'm going to start delivering these paintbrushes every week. And the guy's like, yep, sounds good. What's your name?
That-
Don't have one. All right, see you next week.
That look like human hair, and then he won't fucking tell the kids about it, like it's some big ass conspiracy.
Dude, yeah, I know. That whole scene is so super fucking weird. And then you get into the fucking Celine Dion
The
montage.
magic
Yes!
man. The magic
Listen
man.
to-
This scene is so
the
good.
Magic Man. I fucking love that. She's chasing around. This is the real kids on bikes moment. But like they voluntarily give Connie to this child abductor in order to make this plan work. And then by chance, a street sweeper sweeps away the entire, like, okay, just so for people who haven't seen it, Connie like sneaks into the back of this guy's truck, uses a big bag of sugar and a hose to leave a trail for Susie to follow on her bike. But a street sweeper like sweeps away that trail
The path,
at one
yeah.
point. And so like she doesn't find it again for another couple days, which doesn't make a lot of sense on its own. But like, I don't know, like that whole thing. Connie just willingly put himself in the maw of the fucking beast and winds up in this child slave camp
Also,
making
like,
brushes and has no like, and nobody none of these kids are like screaming and crying or like trying to run or anything like that. They're all just like super afraid based on very childlike fears. Like, no, he's got cameras in here. He's watching all the time. No, you can't do this. And they have all these little rules. And to me, that was one of my favorite things because it was almost like that part of the movie was written by a bunch of kids playing pretend. Do you know what I mean? Like they're making up the rules of this universe as they go along. It's like, no, you can't do that because he's got little invisible tripwires. You got to use my tripwire deactivator to scooch. I love that. I don't know. I thought that was really charming.
I want to highlight how fantastic that kids on bike scene is real quick. Because like Susie's following the trail of sugar while this ridiculous Celine Dion song is playing. It's like early Celine Dion. You would not know it's Celine Dion. And it feels very out of place.
That's a clip there.
And while she's riding through the streets, people are just like cheering her on the sidewalks and shit. It's like very exciting. And you're just like, fucking yeah, you get that sugar trail, little girl. Why? I don't know, but I love it.
They love it. I don't know. And then all these kids who are held captive are like wearing like salmon pink fucking karate clothes for some reason. And they're all like sleeping in hammocks. Like it's very childlike, this thing. Like I don't know. For being a camp of enslaved children, I think it's a pretty whimsical take.
Yeah, well, and then they're just like, he gets there and he's like, you can't escape. And he's like, all right, show him how to make these paintbrushes. And he's like,
Yeah, and he's like,
this?
okay, cool. Yeah, exactly. And then the senior, they go and they're like, well, is there any way to escape? He's like, well, you can go through the paintings, but they're not real places, so you can't actually get anywhere. And you go and look at these magic paintings that he painted with, I guess, the paintbrushes themselves are magic, which I don't know what the rules are for that, but it doesn't
Either that
matter.
or just he is. One of the
Yeah,
other.
there's a weird
I don't
scene
know,
about
man.
that later.
Unclear, but for whatever reason, like he's got like all these paintings, but they all, with the exception of the one he eventually paints that's like story relevant, they all basically look like those Thomas Kincaid portraits you see at the mall
Yeah.
that have like little lights worked into them somehow, and they just like glow a little bit. Like, man, they really got their fucking use out of shitty Thomas Kincaid art in this movie.
Well, and also too, it's like, bitch, you can make magic paintings that you can get inside, and you're worried about selling fucking hair coats?
Dude,
That's your ploy.
and also like the whole movie has been centered around this guy being unflinching about having imagination being bad. Don't use your imagination to make art. That's not art. And then his whole thing at the end is that every piece of artwork that he's made has been imaginary places for some reason. And it's a whole plot point to get him to draw something that's real so that he can be trapped in it. Like that's how they defeat it. So I don't understand that change, that schism. It's like they just swapped that character trait on a dime and totally undermined whatever they were trying to set up originally. That seems like a rewrite issue to me.
Also, too, another thing that was just very unsettling to me was the ploy for Connie to trick him by calling him like his father. So this man
Yeah.
who's kidnapped all of these kids, and now Connie's like, "You're my dad. Dad, will you do this?" I was like, this is weird. I mean, it's just
like-
yeah. very, very weird.
I thought it was hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, because Connie is just like, "Hey, you want to be my dad now?" And he's just like, "Yeah, all right, that's cool." And he's like, "Okay,
I've
cool,
never been a father.
paint this fucking spooky house." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that." And he's like, "Get up in there and see what's in the house." He's like, "Yeah, okay."
Get up in
all right."
there,
He's
root
just
around
like
a little.
doing whatever Connie wants him to do. He's just like all of a sudden has no free
Dude.
will because it serves the plot. Why not?
Well, yeah, I mean, because well, Connie's just a badass, man. Come on, give Connie his due.
Maybe the writers just aren't badass. One or the other. I'm not sure.
Look, man, if this movie had writers, I don't even know, but I don't know,
Was
man.
it written?
This is like the whole thing with like Connie tricking him into being his father, or whatever. That was very Hook for me because of the
Yeah.
but it didn't have the emotional resonance of like he's stealing him from his actual father, because Connie's parents are they're not in this movie. If Michael had been in that position, and then the dad was fretting over it, and he's like, Dad hasn't always been great to me. Maybe this is like, if there was like some conflict with it, then maybe that would be more like resonant. But what it is, it resonates on a like, yeah, this kid's a badass sort of level for me. It's like, yeah, good for, like, I don't know if I'm attaching myself to it from a childlike perspective at that level, but it's like, if I'm a kid and I'm watching this movie, I'm like, Connie, man, that's who I want to be. Fucking going in there and just doing shit, just getting shit done. He accomplishes almost every fucking part of this movie, from the instigating moment to the fucking conclusion, and yet Michael is somehow the lead character. I don't get that.
Yeah, Michael just moves the plot along, really. Connie's the action man, the man of action.
Connie is not. It's like he's like the Samwise to Michael's Frodo in this fucking whole series, where it's like you think you're following Frodo, but at the end of the day, it's Samwise that gets the shit done.
Yeah. Let's wrap the plot up real quick. We're like right at the end. So like he gets the Signor to crawl into this painting, and he sees corpses or ghosts or whatever, gets scared. He goes bald. So Michael is able to pass the quote fright along to him, so his hair stops growing super out of control, and Michael's fine. The Signor like runs around and chases all these kids, and he catches them in a big net. He's just got this huge net, and he's like wrapping these kids up in it, and it's hilarious and weird. The cops show up and arrest him, and then everything's fine, and Michael goes back home with his dad and his sister, and the mom shows up from Australia, and they're all happy
For a minute.
together. Yeah.
I love that the dad, when they're like busting the Signor at the very last minute, like he busts in and he does like karate hands, like shitty, don't know what I'm doing, childlike karate hands. Like he says, "Don't move or you're dead meat." And then he says it to the dog too. I
Wow.
love that. I fucking
fantastic.
love that. I don't know. There's some legitimate like child movie charm to this, but that's what makes the like really dark shit extra fucking dark. Like the Signor, as like everything he does is dark, and then you've got like little dark undercurrents and everything else of death, and then like I don't know, like the mom thing. I really feel like they were concealing a dead parent figure motive for or arc for these kids, the main kids, and among other things. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but
Yeah, you might have a point. I don't know as far as like whether or not this movie was rewritten a lot. It feels to me that it's like very half baked, or maybe just a lot of people had a lot of ideas and they all were just like, yeah, throw it in, whatever the fuck, that's fine, and just never like tightened it up. They're just too many cooks in the kitchen.
Scare them.
Yeah, one draft and rolled with it, and this is what we got. And you know what? It's pretty hilarious, I think.
Dude, yeah, I don't know. There's just so much in this movie. There's so much I want to talk about, but there's just really not enough time to cover it all.
Yeah, I mean, speak now, forever hold your peace. Is there anything else you guys want to mention before we rate this thing?
I'm looking through my notes to see. Juice?
No, I think we covered. We talked about old Celine Dion. Talked about his crazy dance, or well, not really, but he does this crazy dance while he's making this magical painting. That was weird.
Juice, do you remember the name of the Celine Dion song? We can't play it on the show.
Listen to the Magic Man.
The Magic Man.
The Magic Man by Celine Dion. Check that shit out. It's
on
a slapzilla.
YouTube's.
Is it It's something.
I don't know.
I mean, that's baby making music right there.
Very nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
This
Don't
is a
get
very
us sued, Randy.
Okay. This is like one very, very small moment that, I mean, it could have easily just been glossed over. But at one point, Susie is makes dinner, and she makes what she calls Toronto noodle soup, and it made me realize that this is an aggressively Canadian movie. Like the Quebecian shit, there's a lot of French shit going on. It's very much Quebec, very much, but then the Toronto noodle soup. And what's the distinguishing factor in a Toronto noodle soup? I gotta know.
Look it up.
No, I can't. The mystery is going to be better than the reality. It's going to be like elk or some shit.
What? It's not fucking Sweden.
They have elk in Canada.
Do they? Do they eat elk in Canada?
I don't know that. I don't know. They're so different than us. How could I even guess?
I've had elk before.
I am trying to find a recipe for Toronto noodle soup, and I'm just not finding it. I'm like,
I don't think
Toronto's
it's a real
best
thing.
noodles. Like, I can't. I get ramen recipe. Nothing.
That's kind of what I was interested in, because it felt like something they made up for the movie, but they don't talk about it any more than just mentioning that's what she made. It's just like a weird thing. It's just yet another fucking weird goddamn thing that they insert into this movie.
True.
I don't know. The ghost bums are very negging. That's my last note. They
they call Michael a baldy, which just harkens back to Sleepaway Camp, one of the greatest movies of all time, but also super weird.
Around here, you know what we call them?
What do you call them, Randy?
Peanut butter heads.
Call them peanut butter heads.
Oh, yeah, that's what you call them.
I think
that's
that's the PG version.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's rate this thing out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How you feel about the peanut butter solution?
I don't think I liked it as much as you guys. This is not my typical like vibe that I'm into. It was definitely more entertaining watching it with Bob. There were several times Bob just got a kick out of something. That shit cracked me up more. Bob losing his shit cracked me up more than the actual situation, but at least it was fun. I had some shouts outs to Nicole. I had some Screamin' and Creamin' peanut butter cup cream to celebrate the peanut butter solution. It was good. Let's see. I don't know. I found this movie at like the worst of times very troubling and nonsensical and not particularly charming for me. Sometimes I could see where it was kind of hidden in there, but this is just a very strangely made film that doesn't really get anything going for me. Mostly I was just like, didn't like the dad too much. I didn't like the situation with the daughter acting like the mom. I didn't like the weird senior shit. It's just a lot of weird stuff going on, but it was unique, and it definitely had like some interesting stuff going on. So I think overall, I'm gonna give it a 2.
All right. 2 from old Juice.
Higher than I
Stains.
expected from you based on
Yeah.
that description.
Yeah. I think Bob saved it a scotch with his
Yeah.
wild laughter at just inappropriate times.
Dude, that fucking dead ant wrecked
Rob
me.
Oh,
lost.
yeah.
Yeah. That was about what it was.
Hey, look at my new pet ant. It's dead.
Bob, out of 5,
Yeah.
what are you gonna give the old PB solution?
I'm going to slide in here with a 2.5. So, indeed. My enjoyment of this movie was pretty high. It wasn't like through the roof, but it was pretty high, higher than I anticipated it would be. I really enjoyed just the oddity of this movie. Like, I don't know exactly what they were going for. Obviously, this was made for kids, but like beyond that, like I don't really know exactly what they were going for tonally, or like if like script wise, like I don't really know what the point of the story is, or like where the fuck it came from. It's just such a strange, weird story, and the Senor being the villain is just like I don't like where did that character come from? I don't know, but I enjoy watching it. The oddity is fantastic. Do you know what movies like this movie? Nothing. There's not a movie like this movie, and I think that is cool. However, like technically, it's pretty horrible. Like the acting is pretty scattershot. The story overall is nonsense. The writing is really bad. It's just like not particularly shot well. I don't know. It's got some Celine Dion in the soundtrack, so maybe that'll give you a little extra bump right there.
Oh yeah, my heart will go on.
But it's very much split between like my just enjoyment of this oddity and like the fact that it's a pretty bad crafted film. But I still recommend it. Even though I'm giving it 2.5, I recommend it. Randy, how are you feeling?
It's a tough movie, man. I like. First of all, I just want to put. I'm just going to put it on my face here. I really love this movie. I'm like really attached to it. But in terms of quality, it's that perfect valley of like the difference between enjoyable and high quality. You know what I mean? So it makes a really hard decision for me in terms of what to score it. I think that like you said, Bob, this is an extremely unique movie, but I think its uniqueness comes not whereas like something like House came from like a singular vision that was very unique. This is very unique in the way that like it's a movie by committee where like the writing was done and redone by different parties who wanted different things from it. Some people wanted artistry, some people wanted a dark tone, some people wanted a light tone. Like they just weren't sure how to make like what movie they wanted to make, it seems like. And like you said, it's like some of the acting is pretty rough, but charming in some ways. Like I love Connie, I love Susie, even though I thought that their characters, the way that their characters are formulated and like the way that they perform them is really bizarre and stilted, but that's almost like added to it. I don't know. I would much rather watch this than like just like a by the numbers kids on bikes movie, as you call it, Bob. Like except for like the classics, of course. But like to me, this is just sort of a weird earmark in like cinema history where it's like committee kind of destroyed this movie and made it into some like weird amalgam that couldn't have been replicated if you tried. Like you couldn't make this movie again. It'd be like somebody trying to remake The Room. You can't do that. Like it doesn't work. You'd have to fucking have an entirely different take on the whole thing. I don't know, man. And it also resonated with me on a lot of like little personal levels. I usually don't like score based on that, but it did, and I'm not going to ignore it. So like with having so much trouble with my barometer on this one, I'm going to sort of round us out, I think, with a 3.0. I really like this movie. It is not high quality, and I couldn't recommend it to a whole lot of people. But if you, like me, have a taste for the odd or strange, like in terms of cinema, then, you know, you could do a lot worse than this. This is a worthwhile thing to watch if you like that sort of shit. And everything that's weird about it, I think chalks up to a combination of ineptitude, low budget, and too many cooks in the kitchen. And somehow, despite all that, it makes a film that, while not coherent, is totally engrossing to me. So it gets a 3.
Solid. With Randy's 3, that's going to put our aggregate at a 2.5. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about the peanut butter solution.
Certified fresh to death.
All right. So, for those new to the podcast, the way this segment works is I'm going to ask these two gentlemen right here what they think that this movie got on RottenTomatoes.com for its critics and user scores from 0% positive to 100% positive. So, we got one little snag here, though, and that's that there are 0 critic reviews for this movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Damn.
Big goose egg on that. So, we only have an audience score. And the good news about that is that there are over 2,500 ratings from users on this movie. So we have a substantial amount of those, at least. Bob, let's start with you this time. Why don't you tell me between 0 and 100%, what percentage of these users gave a positive review?
I feel like it cannot be that high because this movie is so bizarre. I feel like it's pretty polarizing. I'm just gonna go with a 55.
55. All right. Soju, where your head at? Where your head at?
This one's really tough because with only an audience score, I feel like the people who love it are like gonna love it. But I also can't rate it too high out of fear that like that just doesn't make sense to me. So I think I'm going to bank on the cult status of it since it's only coming from the audience score, and I'll just $1 Bob with the 56. Go on, I'll take the high end. I'll take the high plus.
56. All right. Well, you're gonna be happy you did because damn boy, you are one off with a 57%. You're gonna take it. This
What? I get a hair.
No,
You just got $1 bobbed, Bob.
that's some bullshit.
$1 Bob.
Mm-mm.
Yep. There's no critics consensus, as you might imagine. And there's only one. Well, actually, weirdly, there is one critic score in the critic reviews section, but just not counted in the tomatometer. And it's a positive review, which we don't read because they're not as funny. So that's the end of the segment, really. There's just not a lot to say.
All right.
I guess like this is a polarizing movie that was not well known to begin with, but because of apparently cable, like according to the back of the box, there's like shown a lot on cable and shit like
That'll
that.
come up in trivia, I believe.
Yeah.
Will it?
I
Okay.
believe.
So yeah, I didn't realize that that's where most of its play got, but I guess that's where these 2,500 people plus came from, and they are very split down the middle on this shit.
Yeah, and actually this week we are man of the people pretty much.
Yeah.
56, and we scored a 2.5. I mean, we're pretty close
Dead
there.
center.
Yeah.
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 Tight.
Or
All right.
57.
Tight,
sorry,
tight, tight.
57.
Well, Juice, let's go ahead and jump over into some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
Okay, so let's hop into some trivia. So this is something we talked about a little bit, but I give a scotch more information on it. While on a promotional tour for The Dog Who Stopped the War, 1984, producer Rock Dimmers crossed path with a 17-year-old Celine Dion at a radio station in Quebec. He was so impressed by her singing, he asked if she would do some songs for the soundtrack of The Peanut Butter Solution, which came out 1 year later. Yeah, 1985, which he was about to shoot. Those songs, Listen to the Magic Mang and Michael's song, ended up being the first English language song she ever performed.
Nice.
So really, the Peanut Butter Solution gave Celine Dion the breakout that she needed.
Well, thank God.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one for Bob. This shit kind of cracked me up. And I don't know if I'm saying this guy's name right. Demers. Dimmers?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Producer Rock Dimmers loved the painting of the family playing tennis so much that he hung it in his office for over 30 years.
Wow.
Rob was shitting all over that painting.
It's
Dude,
not-
I mean, it's not that crazy. It's not that bad.
Uh,
I don't know.
my boy
Um,
rocks high off his ass.
It's not technically like brilliant, but it's a take. I don't know. I love the birds. I thought the birds were hilarious.
So here is something that we were talking about, like what did he see in there and stuff like that. Producer Rock Dimmers has said when he and director Michael Rubo began the film, their goal was to create a gentle, frightening film. He felt the theme was, if something frightens you, find out why. In most cases, you'll discover it wasn't so frightening after all. I don't know if if you could say that about crisped up corpses. I mean, that's maybe. I guess.
Yeah, it's not that scary.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Um,
fucking scary. I don't know. I get that idea though. Like if they had like hinged the movie on that more centrally, then maybe. But
Yeah.
the whole thing with the hair has nothing to fucking do with that, and that's the pivotal point of the movie.
Yeah. Skippy Peanut Butter paid for prominent product placement in this film.
Yeah.
I can tell you from experience, Shaboy Robert is a GIF man.
Choosy
Whoa.
Bob's choose GIF. You know what I'm saying?
You are a choosy blob if ever there was one.
Heard that.
So this is this. Okay, this is curious. This is the second in the Tales for All series of children and family films produced by the company Lay Productions Lafayette. These films were also published as books. So I guess the movie came first.
Oh, really? I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, I don't know. So so it wasn't in the trivia. What was I gonna say? We were, so Bob has some physical media here. That's why we have the back of the box. And actually it had it was the producer, wasn't it, Bob?
Yeah, it was my boy Rock.
Yeah, where he was talking about kind of his life and his experience in how he became a film producer and stuff. And he was kind of talking about his film. It was actually pretty interesting. That dude led a crazy life, and a lot of his experience or like inspiration came from, was it those like Swedish, like I guess in Sweden or somewhere like that, Norway or something, they were making really like crazy interesting children's films, and he would like air them at a theater that he would rent out, and they would sell out like every time, and that was kind of like his inspiration. They were showing like some clips from some of them. They looked wild as shit.
Interesting.
So
I love that kind of fucking weird experiment, like especially when it comes to kid stuff. I don't know why, like the experimental shit is always so interesting
Yeah,
because you never know exactly how things are going to land for a kid. A lot of times, things that you think are nice and charming can be really terrifying, and vice versa.
true. Yeah.
Didn't he make a movie called The Christmas Martian as well?
Yeah, he was. Oh,
Hell
that's what
yeah.
I wanted to talk about. We were talking about Cable. So I guess this was just from his interview and not in my trivia. But he was saying that, so from his experience, that the film company, like where they were distributing films, he didn't even know that the peanut butter solution was that big in America until he got asked by someone to come speak at kind of like a situation where we do, where we show a film at like Sunray, and they were like, will you come introduce and speak about it? And he was like, yeah, I guess. And like, come to find out, because it had aired on HBO back in the day, and they would just play it over and over and over again as like a kid's film. That's why it got popular in America. But in he was talking about like in other countries, he was like, in Canada, our biggest film is this, and in France, it's this other movie. And so just across their catalog, like each country had their kind of own favorite movie of theirs, but they're all like very kind of strange and weird like that, like the Christmas Martian and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
was apparently fucking huge in Canada. So yeah, that was just kind of an interesting thing to kind
Do
of
we
hear
have? If
about.
we have any Canadian listeners, call in and
We
let us
do.
know if you have.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
we do.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you're a Canadian listener and you want to call in, please do. We're gonna have a phone number later on for you to call for voicemails, and I would love to hear your experience with,
Mhm.
if you have any, with this movie or other movies within this series,
The
the
Christmas
Lafette
Martian.
series, whatever. Yeah, I would love to know more about that. It's fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. Any other trivia, Drew?
No, that's about it. Good trivia section
Yeah.
last time. Good
Solid.
job, Soju.
Solid. Wow.
Wait, Self 5.
Wow. Well, then it is certainly time to go hunting. Let's talk Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Thanks, Cesar. Juice, what's a Cooter? Why are we hunting them?
Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter. We want the Cooter of the week with the most points. So the 5 points are sexual deviance, smug arrogance, manipulation, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, who are we taking to Cooter Court this week?
It's the senior. We all know.
Yeah, is there any doubt truly?
All right, so who's going to nominate him for his first point?
I don't know. So, Rob, you were pretty on the ball with that. Why don't you bring us up to speed?
Attire. He's wearing a coat made of children's hair.
Dude, that's some Cooter attire right
Wow.
there. That might be some of the most Cooter attire we've seen.
That legitimately reminded me more than anything else of, and this is also a weird correlation to make, but of the coats that some of the pimp and villain characters would wear in what is that fucking movie? Pootie Tang.
Pootie
Just wear the Pootie
Tang!
Tang.
Yes! I knew you were
Dude.
gonna say that.
Fucking the
Love it.
Pootie. That was a Pootie Tang pimp coat made of child hair.
Fucking love.
And
That
he
is-
made one for his dog.
Yes. I'm just glad he didn't choose to use boy pube hairs. And
Me too.
it's my boy Dick.
Do you think the senior hangs out with Dirty D?
Dirty.
Probably.
Yeah, definitely.
He's so damn dirty.
So damn dirty.
All right, so looking attire,
yes.
he has got on lock for sure.
Yes. Smug arrogance. Absolutely. This is a art teacher who bans imagination and
Well,
then
and
eventually
even-
only relies on imagination for his own artwork.
Well, and also his little rant that he goes on when he gets called out by the principal,
Yeah.
where she's like, you lied, you changed your name, you're not a famous painter. And he said he was like the great grandson of like some, I don't know,
Rembrandt or somebody.
yeah, something crazy. And so he has got some smug arrogance out the wazoo. He thinks he's
For
some
sure.
hot shit.
Mhm.
Manipulation. I mean, he certainly gets manipulated himself by
Wow,
somehow
my
tricking himself into thinking he's
I mean, he's
these
like, he
children's
made a
father.
slave labor camp out
But
of
yeah.
children. He's like manipulating kids
He
to,
tried to-
like, to work.
he,
for
like we
him in a
see him
way.
outright try to kidnap even Susie. He's like, "Oh, you want to go for a ride?" And it's like,
Yeah, but all she had
Yeah.
to do is say no. It's like,
yeah, that's
no.
true. But like he tried to manipulate her, and he's like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's still like you can't. Anybody who's asking a child to come into their murder van
True.
explicitly so that they can kidnap them for a fucking forced labor camp is manipulating.
And at this point, he's got like, they say like 20 kids. So he has
Yeah.
manipulated 20 kids to get in that van.
He's
Ooh.
definitely
And
got patheticness unlocked because Connie works him over, son.
Yes.
Connie
Yeah.
is a child wearing a fedora.
Connie absolutely gets this guy on his fucking ass multiple times. He shames him in his own classroom for starters. And then
Yeah, that's
eventually
true.
brings down his whole child fucking labor camp ring. I don't know. Like I think it's pretty goddamn pathetic. And like just the idea that he's so firm with these kids about like whether or not they can use imagination and then uses imagination for his own paintings. Like that's a level of like of hypocrisy that borders on patheticness, I would say as well. Like that sort of shit where it's like it's all about your glory. Like you're a con man. You can't actually paint or anything, but you're like have this arrogance about what other people should be painting or can be painting. And then you just go entirely against that the moment you get the chance because you're pathetic.
I would also say for patheticness, at the very first scene he's in where he's having the kids draw in his class, he brings in his dog and he's got this very weird relationship with his dog where he's like, focus on the dog, look at his rippling muscles or whatever. I was like, what the fuck?
His rippling muscle. I don't remember that line.
Yeah, it's
That
like
is
a
hilarious.
dog. It's like, you need to calm
Jim is the name of the
down.
dog. Yeah, and let's go. The final point is sexual deviance. Now, this is a kids movie, so I like the explicitness isn't there for sure, but I think that corralling a bunch of preteens in your fucking basement, I
And
feel
force
like,
feeding them yogurt.
Yeah, I was about to say,
dude,
and the
force feeding yogurt. It's
and
very
wearing their hair.
And he's got that huge bed right in the middle of the factory with all the pillows on it.
Yeah, but I was like, what is that bed?
and then he's very much into the like he
I have a daddy kink.
that's him the whole fucking time with old Connie trying to get his ass to be his father. He is into that idea, very into that idea,
Mm.
but not into it so far as to, free the children that he's kidnapped, who he supposedly cares about. I don't know. It's very
Ugh.
like cultish. I
He's
don't
one of the
know.
highest scooters we've had in a
Yeah.
while.
I feel like he's got a few sands on him. You know what I mean? Like
The
he's
old
not
senor,
quite
he
Jeremiah
could make
Sand.
your Cooter calendar for sure.
I
Mhm.
think he could. I think the fucking hair
What-
coat, man.
What month should he get? I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's
March.
the best month to eat peanut butter?
Mm.
I don't think there is a bad month to eat peanut butter.
Every month?
All right, we'll have to think
I
about
don't
it.
know. I think March because he's that unremarkable of a person. Like he's a
March has
pathetic
St.
man. He deserves a
Patrick's Day,
pathetic
come
month.
on.
March Madness?
Well, what's your favorite worst month? Choose that one.
Deal.
August.
Fuck August. Except for it's like pre-spooky season, which is always cool. Yeah, I think we booked him. I think he is definitely certified cooter material. Good work, gentlemen's.
Yeah, we did it. Is there anybody else? I think we're good, right?
The only other one I was thinking about was the rabbit. He seems pretty pathetic, but we don't
He's
know too
cootery.
much about him.
Yeah, we don't ever see him.
Yeah.
Really. He's
Yeah.
probably a cooter though.
He's probably a cooter. Yeah. Harem scarum, not so much. Dad, flawed, but not so much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The kids, pretty much kids, with the
Maybe-
exception of some
maybe
weird
Connie.
character quirks.
I
don't know.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Connie is the standout for me. I fucking love, and Susie also. I kind of warmed up to her Midwest mom thing a little bit as the time went on. After the initial weirdness of it got over, I was like, I don't know.
Never
man,
got
like,
over the
she's so on
weird.
the ball.
It was always real weird.
Yeah, it was weird to me.
Eventually, I was kind of like, okay, well, she's just absurdly absurdly old soul. This girl.
Mhm.
So, I don't know.
Let's let our hair down. Let's rub some peanut butter all up in it and see what happens.
Mm.
Because it's time for the social hour, and we're going to be talking about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randy, what you been
Well-
watching?
I can't speak too much about it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I know it's hotness right now, but WandaVision,
Yeah,
Still very good. very, very surprising turns of events, and still quite enjoyable just on a pure entertainment level.
Are you current with it, Randy? Was there like 5
I am
episodes?
current. I'm current, and that means I have questions.
Yes. I will keep it spoiler free for sure. But they lost me on that 5th episode. Like they're starting to lose me. I don't know. But
Really?
also, while I'm watching this, speaking of like Randy shit, I'm watching this and the whole time I'm thinking like, this is Too Many Cooks, but a show. This is like so
Oh, really?
Randy shit. Yeah, it just makes me think of Too Many Cooks.
I haven't gotten remotely to the point where I'm doubting the direction yet, because to me it feels like a
No.
very-
I'm citing specifically that Cartoon Network thing that you love called Too Many Cooks.
Oh, like the pastiche on sitcom
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And then this is a show that's actually built out of that little like short that you fucking watch
True.
a million times.
I feel I'm a little worried that once, I don't want to spoil anything, but like once the sitcom angle sort of dries up, shall we
Mhm.
say,
Yeah.
I worry that will be like a good half of what I enjoy about the show gone, and then the
Yeah.
rest it'll just be sort of like by the numbers, like comic book movie sort of show. And at that point, I'll probably still be invested because it was a good way to get me engaged in the first place. But I don't know. We'll
I
see.
feel that, yeah.
I'm still enjoying it, but I'm excited to see what what they take on next. But yeah, there's some very strong questions going on
Yeah.
in terms of like behind the scenes decision making because of this last episode. I played a game. I bought a game that I just heard about. I bought it and played it in a day. It's called Superliminal. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
So this is a game, I guess, I don't know how popular it is, but it's sort of an indie game as I understand it. And it's really tough to describe. The easiest analog I can think of is Portal. It's very much like Portal, at least to start, in that you're going through different rooms, solving puzzles with different like mind-bending puzzles using a couple of really interesting mechanics. Like there's things like you need to put something on a button, right? So you need to find something that you can pick up and put on a button. But there's nothing in the room, but there's this weird painting on the wall. And if you stand at a certain angle, it looks like a cube. And if you stand at that certain angle and you look at it as a cube, you can grab it and pluck it out of the air, and it's a cube, and you can put it on the thing and you can go to the next room. It's like weird shit like that. And it goes into some really interesting like art direction places. It's a very short game, which I'm very much in favor of because I'm in my 30s now and I don't have time to play fucking 100-hour games like I used to. So yeah, I was very into that. It's one of my favorite games I've played in a while. Probably my favorite since maybe last November, December. Yeah, I love it. Anyway, I also watched Psycho Gorman, PG for short. That's a fucking amazingly fun movie. What do you guys know about that? Have you seen it?
I've heard people talk about it. I haven't seen it myself. I heard it's like very much kind of like a reference. Like I've heard it be compared to things like Ninja Turtles and like Power Rangers, like late 80s, early 90s. Those kind of like costumes, those like goofy looking costumes. I don't know. That's about it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the standout thing is it's very much got a strong core of Power Ranger Super Sentai going on, and it's got the costumes to match. And I wouldn't say they're bad costumes. They're fucking amazing costumes. They're just very like chintzy, seemingly low budget sort of like, but really interesting looks going on. They're just I saw somebody describe it as wet puppets. They're just a lot of wet puppets in this fucking thing. And I think it's great. Like, and in that sense, it's fucking great. I really enjoy like the story as well. I feel like it's a little polarizing because the main characters are a little girl and a little boy, and the little girl is more than anyone sort of central besides the Psycho Gorman character. The story is that they unearth this like ancient evil, but they have like his little medallion, so she gets to like tell him what to do. He's their slave. So it's got a little bit of ET going on mixed with little Power Rangers, mixed with a little like existential fucking like HP Lovecraft horror. And there's some like serious gore going on from time to time, but for the most part it's this weird fucking blend of things. And it's I feel like the kids in particular are going to be a little polarizing in the way that like the little girl from Bly Manor really annoyed some people. I could see this little girl doing the same thing, but for me, I thought she was fucking hilarious and just absolutely nailed this movie to the wall. So, and between her and the wet puppets, I was all over this fucking movie. I thought it was really, really, really fun. And it's not a movie that I would recommend sober necessarily, but as somebody who was not, I enjoyed the fuck out of it. Let's see. Other than that, been reading Axiom's End by Lindsay Ellis. I've been playing a little bit of Don't Starve, which is a game that I used to play a lot of and just picked back up for the Switch. Not much to say on those. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I would say. Whew. Trying to speed it up.
Juice, what you been watching?
I just started watching the old WandaVision because Randy was creaming his shorts over on the Slack about it. I'm not 5 deep, just a few deep, so I got to catch up. No spoilers for Juice. It's interesting so far, but I'm not in love yet. We'll see. I started watching a show called Kim's Convenience, and it's been out for a couple years now. It's on Netflix, and I've heard like good things about it, but just haven't checked it out until now. It's oh wait, maybe I started to watch it at one point and never finished it. I don't know, but I started watching again at least, and it's a comedy. It's about a Korean family that lives in Toronto, and the parents are like direct immigrants and their like 2 kids that are in their late teens, early 20s are not, like they were born like in Toronto, wherever. They run a convenience store, and it's a comedy, but it's, it's got a lot of good feels to it. And it's got some interesting, like, just Korean family dynamics to it. And it shows like some cool sides of Toronto too. So that's kind of interesting. But I've been enjoying that. It's actually a really solid show. So that's something I would recommend if you need a new kind of light show to check out. The episodes are like sitcom size, like 26 minutes or something. So it's pretty easy to get in and out of if you need to. Been watching that, and I think that might be it. I didn't get to catch any movies this week, I don't think. So yeah, I think that's all I've been watching, new stuff wise. Bob?
Yo.
What you been watching, guy?
Caught up on WandaVision. I've kind of already talked about that. They're starting to lose me a little bit. We'll see what happens. Lots of questions. Other than that, I've really just been watching Bob's Burgers. Rounded out season 5 of 11. Still got a lot more to get through. That show is consistently hilarious. It's on Hulu. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's like an adult animated series, but it's not like South Park. It's a little more like family friendly, I guess. You could watch it with your kids
Kind of.
if you had. Yeah, well, for the most part, anyway. It's PG-13 maybe.
If you would let your kids watch The Simpsons, you would let them watch Bob's Burgers for sure.
For sure, yeah. Good shit. Anyway, that's really all I've been watching though. Not a whole lot in the way of movies. But that leads us to the last segment of the show. We got to get into our Hotline Scream.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave us a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We have 3 voicemails to get to this week. I think we got some people talking about Kings. We got some people talking about some other stuff. Some people just saying, hey, what's up? I think the first voicemail we got here is from Brandon. So let's go ahead and hear what Brandon has to say.
Here we go.
Hey boys, this is Brandon calling. First time calling in, listen to the podcast quite often up here in Canada. I live in a small town like an hour out of Vancouver. Just calling in to say appreciate you. You guys make my day go by super fast, driving an old septic truck around, pumping people's tanks. I usually get about 4 or 5 episodes a day, so you guys fill my ear holes all day. I'm just calling in about the Hotline Kink. What I like, what my wife likes, is we get the old blindfold out and just fool around with that. You never know what's going to happen, where it's going to come from. Catches you off guard and makes it a good time. Anyways, love the show. Keep doing what you're doing. Hey,
I didn't catch the kink. Did you guys? I like the
Yeah,
speech to
it's a
text is of
blind-
course
The
fine.
blindfold.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear. Okay, the blindfold.
Yeah.
All right.
The
That's a
blindfold.
good
Never
kink.
know what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's coming from, what's going to happen. It's always a surprise, It's-
Yeah. I'd dig on that.
Yeah. Speaking of whether or not we have Canadian listeners, hey man, shouts
Yeah,
out to
shouts
Canada.
out.
What? Yeah, man.
Truck
thanks-
driving Canada.
Yeah, thanks for calling in there, Brandon, and sharing your kinks and repping your fine country.
Yeah.
Good to
Hey,
hear from
you know what? Yeah, please call in next week. Let us know if you had any experience with
Yeah.
the
Peanut butter
Magic
solution.
Man, as it were.
Yeah.
But also, you don't need to shotgun 5 episodes in a day, man. Come on, give yourself
Shut
some
your
buffer.
mouth, Randy.
Yeah, let him listen if he wants, man. Don't tell him not to.
Look, I'm not telling him not to, but I gotta say, like, out of concern, break it up a little. Yeah, give yourself a little.
No, listen to 8.
Listen to some wait, don't tell me in between or some shit.
No,
I guess that's not. I don't know if they have that in Canada. Probably in podcast form. Anyway,
God, 8 straight chilling episodes a day would be like 2/3 of your day.
Yeah.
I don't like listening to me for 2 hours.
Neither do I.
Well, you don't have to. Brandon does. Anyway, yeah.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks for calling, man. Good to hear from you. Yeah, let us know if you know about that Christmas Martian movie, if you grew up watching that or whatnot. Next up, I think we're gonna hear from, speaking of mailmangs, Kelvin. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Kelvin calling in. If I could go back in time to a certain period, I'd definitely go back to the 70s and try to, I'd probably watch some of the classic movies that were coming out at that time, as like when they were actually in the movie theater. I think that's pretty dope. Maybe like enjoy some of the music festivals from back in the day, like Woodstock and stuff like that, and actually get to experience that rather than watching it on videos on YouTube and stuff like that. It was a pretty cool time, like being without, it was probably a cool time being without like phones and stuff, just like exploring the world, and like kind of just getting lost in the moment type of thing. There's not a lot of that going on nowadays. So, yeah, a pretty cool topic. Keep chilling, guys. And hey,
We got a standard sign off now.
God,
Hell yeah.
That's interesting. Like, yeah, I don't know if we're following the constraints of synchronic, which is what prompted this question, where
yeah.
you know, period for 7 minutes. But if I was to go back for 7 minutes, I think Woodstock would be a fucking amazing place to go for 7 minutes, just to like get a feel for shit. Watch fucking Simon and Garfunkel or whatever do some bullshit on stage, and watch people trip balls right in front of them. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to spend your time traveling powers. That's kind of cool.
I would go back to Woodstock
I don't know about the movie, though, 'cause
99 specifically and watch Limp Bizkit's set.
Okay.
That is
well
repulsive to me. On every level. I am disgusted with you right now.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Now that would be pretty cool to go
You
back.
just
want to
go see people roll around in porta potty shit?
I don't at all. That would be cool to go back to the 70s and watch like The Exorcist in the movie theater, or Halloween, Jaws, like classics coming out in the day back in the movie theater. Because you always hear crazy stories about like, yeah, people were like throwing up, passing out when they were watching The Exorcist back in the day. It was really messing people up. Like, well, let me check that out. Was that really happening? I don't know. Travel back in time.
I would go back for the 7 minutes. I would go back in time for a 7 minutes that includes Darth Vader revealing his parentage, and just watch a movie theater full of people freak the fuck out. I think like shit like that might be interesting.
Daddy.
But if I'm going back in time for like 2 hours or more, I'm not hanging out in a movie theater, buddy. I'm going around. I'm buying stocks and shit. I'm getting some IBM stocks and burying them in a field.
Money bagged Randy over here.
They hand you physical stock.
If you're gonna be back in time, you might as well scheme it up.
For sure.
Here's your stocks. It's just a piece of paper that says IBM on it.
IBM.
Let me bury these real quick.
What is IBM?
Yeah, good answer, Kelvin. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for delivering the mail.
I wonder what Kelvin thought about the mailman scene in this film. Does that ever happen, Kelvin? Just the wind just blows
that's not
it away,
protocol.
and you just say fuck it.
Yeah, do you ever just let it go? Like, whoa.
I'm not chasing that shit down.
I'm pretty sure Kelvin's told us before that he has said fuck it once or twice in the past.
Sure. But
if I remember right.
I want to know specifically about the wind.
Yeah, and like what addresses were on those envelopes you let go? Because we're definitely not gonna like notify your employer at all for sure. So
it's all Publishers Clearinghouse anyway.
Yeah, nobody cares. It's fine. Yeah, thanks for calling, man. We got one more voicemail. Next up, we're gonna hear from old Jackie B. Let's hear what Jackie has to say.
What up, boys? It's Jackie B. calling from Chicago. Hope you guys are doing well. I've been liking the new rebranded Straight Chillin' 2.0 this year. Content's been great so far, but I'm re-listening to some of the older episodes. I was re-listening to the Eraserhead episode, and on the hotline scream, someone, I forget his name, called in and was talking about some like blood kinks, some crazy freaky shit. So it made me think about something I heard the other week on another podcast I listened to. And I know I'm such a traitor, but they were talking about Armie Hammer, the guy who played the fucking like Vanderhaas twins or whatever from The Social Network. That guy, apparently he was like hooking up with some girl that he met on Raya, which is like a celebrity Tinder type thing. And he was asking this girl to like send him vials of her blood and like all of this crazy hemophilia type shit. So I just thought that was kind of funny. And yeah, I guess there really is someone for everyone. So whoever it was that called on the Eraserhead video, you're not alone. You and Armie Hammer are both into blood stuff. So anyways, just thought that was kind of funny. I hope you guys are having a good weekend and keep chilling. Looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah.
Peace out, guys.
Hey, girl,
I'm gonna need
you into blood stuff?
Soju, I'm gonna need your immediate gut reaction right now.
That is heinous. Oh God. Vile, what are you doing with it? What so you're asking
He's eating
for it? What happened?
Did you guys haven't heard any of this?
No. Oh,
Okay,
gotta
so
leave
I don't
on-
know. I don't have the
I don't
specifics. It's all
collapse.
secondhand for me, but the understanding is that Armie stands at a better chance of being a cannibal than not
Oh,
at this
God.
point. Like, I mean, or he stands a better chance of being being into cannibalism, not necessarily having done the deed, but
Yeah,
it seems like something he might be into
dude,
based
I
on
could
some
not
information.
stand up right now; I would collapse. Oh my lord! I think it was Michael. I think it was Michael from
yeah.
War Apocalypse. Talking about it, the vampire
Yeah.
stuff. Oh
See,
my lord!
At
That's
that point,
I
I
wanna
think
hear
I
about.
feel. I think at that point I'm comfortable with kink shaming.
Whoa!
I think I'm ready. As long as, well, I mean, if there's nobody actually hurt, then that's one thing. But if we're talking like you really want to eat a person,
But she
I don't know,
gave her
man.
blood willingly, Randy.
If that's not great, but that's fine. That's
I
Chrissy
have been
Orlando at
shamed.
best.
I have been shamed for considering kink shaming in the past, and now here we are.
Were people trying to be eaten?
I agree,
Trying
Randy.
to be-
There's some kinks that should be shamed.
I don't. If it hurts somebody, then I'm not on board. Like there's a whole like ethical question of that story of like a dude who put out an ad in the paper. It's like, hey, I want to eat somebody,
Yeah.
and somebody answered his ad, and he's like, great, you ready to be eaten? The guy's like, yep, and then he eats him. And like, what do you do with that? I don't know, but I don't know to what extent this goes, and that's an ethical question I'm not prepared to deal with right off the bat. But I will say that it disgusts me.
This doesn't, I mean, I don't know for sure, I guess, but this doesn't sound purely like it's sexual in nature. Like if he's just actually trying to eat people, like does that, I don't know if that's really going to get you sexual satisfaction.
Some of
don't
the
know if
shit
he's
that I read
drinking the
sounds
blood
it's
and
pretty
he's-
sexual.
If he's
Oh, really?
drinking the blood and it's
Some of the
like
stuff he was-
getting him riled up,
Okay, well, maybe.
I
I'm
mean, I don't know the
off here.
details here, but
I don't
I'll
know.
look up some Army Hammer quotes.
Oh, fuck.
wow. Maybe we should say
Oh well,
that.
the top 10 Army Hammer quotes on brainyquote.com aren't going to cut it, I don't think.
I did have. I know we posed a question to the Canadian listeners about the Martian, the Christmas Martian or whatever.
Mhm.
Something came up on the Slack this week, and I know we said we were going to do Hotline Kinks for like a few weeks, and we've got a couple calls in. But actually, Nicole, who picked this movie, it was her birthday this week, and so I started a question of, hey, like, what's your birthday kink? Like, what do you specifically ask for when it's your birthday and you kind of get a little like carte blanche, you know, like, oh, I can like ask for whatever I want. And it doesn't necessarily have to be kinky, because she was like, I just like to be left alone. It's the one time I could be like, you know, like, leave me alone with my cake. I'm like, that's fine. So I'm curious, on your birthday, what's your What's your call in for the hotline kinks on your special birthday request?
Birthday request.
Yeah. What do you specifically ask for when it's your special day and you can pretty much get almost what you want?
Is it blood stuff?
I hope it's
Probably.
not, but I'll listen to it if
Probably.
it is. I'll have a hard time, but
Yeah.
yeah, call in. Let us know on maybe our last hotline king for the quarter or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, Jackie, and rocking Justin's world there with some weird blood stuff. Yeah. Good to hear from you. Also, it's like Valentine's Day is coming up.
Mm-mm.
I want to throw out another prompt for the hotline.
You sure you want to do it for this one?
Yeah, I mean, we can double up too.
You
but
sure?
like,
Okay, because I know
yeah.
we got a special. Okay.
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Everybody call in and guess what's up Rob's ass.
That's-
What's his
Take a guess.
what's up there?
It could be.
What's his Valentine's
literally
Day toy of choice?
Mhm. What's Bob sitting on this week? Who knows? I want to know, like, what do you do for your Valentine's Day? Like, do you have
lift
like
my head a little bit.
Oh, okay. She didn't. Do you have like a set routine? Do you have like something different that you try every year? Like, do you have like a crazy Valentine's Day story from this insane person that you were dating like 5 years ago and shit went awry that you just got to get it off your chest? Call in, share those stories with us. Let us know. It doesn't have to be crazy, but if it is,
Have you ever
all
dated
the
Army
better.
Hammer? And do you have the tea?
Blood-filled chocolates. Is that what he's into? We
Oh,
want to know.
shit. Yeah, it's like chocolate covered cherries, but that ain't cherry.
No,
That ain't cranberry sauce.
That is not crayon.
Oh
sauce.
no.
But it is saucy. So yeah, call in, leave us your voicemails at 904-638-3231. That's all we got this week here at Straight Chilling. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode as always. And, since it is Valentine's Day coming up this Sunday, we're going to be talking about a Valentine's Day themed movie. We're finally going to be talking about My Bloody Valentine, the original,
Ooh.
1981, not the remake. So check that out if you have not already. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. Hit us up on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. Send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, hit me up on one of those social media outlets so we can shoot you a link to join in on the fun. Don't forget about Joe Bob this Friday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be doing a live watch party. We'll throw out a link to join in on that just before showtime. That's about all we got, I think. So until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.